Santuario Historico de Machu Picchu in Machu Picchu, Peru. The historical sanctuary of Machu Picchu is a protected area of Peru of more than 35,000 hectares that includes the natural environment of the archaeological site of Machu Picchu. Nestled in the abrupt cloud forest of the Yungas on the eastern slopes of the Peruvian Andes and on both banks of the Urubamba River, which runs in this section with a northwest direction. This allows this unique protected area to cover what could be considered one of the most extraordinary altitude transects in Peru, and to protect, in just 20 linear kilometers, ecosystems as disparate as eternal snows, over 4,000 meters above sea level, and the torrid jungles tropical, just over 1,700 meters above sea level. Embedded within a dramatic landscape at the meeting point between the Peruvian Andes and the Amazon basin, the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is among the greatest artistic, architectural and land use achievements anywhere in the most significant tangible legacy of the Inca civilization. Recognized for outstanding cultural and natural values, the mixed World Heritage property covers 32,592 hectares of mountain slopes, peaks and valleys surrounding its heart, the spectacular archaeological monument of La Citadel, the Citadel, at more than 2,400 meters above sea level. Built in the 15th century, Machu Picchu was abandoned when the Inca Empire was conquered by the Spaniards in the 16th century. It was not until 1911 that the archaeological complex was made known to the outside world. The scientists have recorded inside to 10 living areas and 2 distinct ecoregions, the most relevant from the point of view ecological high Andean grasslands, the forest dwarves high and high jungle or Yungas, represented by forests of fog and the mountain eyebrow. This enormous variety of ecological floors or habitat allows, in turn, the existence of an amazing variety of species of flora and fauna, perfectly adapted to the specific conditions of their environment. The natural world of Machu Picchu begins, then, above 4,000 meters above sea level, where the wind sweeps the equiplains incessantly and where the rocks are populated with lichens and moss. In the territory of the Andean condor and the taruca, the largest and most elusive of the cervid of the Andes, the playful Yungas cacus, rodent typical of heights, and the puma or mountain lion. A land where the temperature variations are so intense that only some creatures manage to survive, soon intense during the day and relentless frost at night. High Andean landscape on the route of the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, which crosses a good part of the sanctuary. Descending, you arrive at an area where the cold winds from the snowy mountains join the warm currents that rise from the jungle to form a strange miniature world. They are the dwarf forests, a scene of twisted trees where the dimensions seem to have been altered at the whim of nature. Here the trees are small and the mosses are giant, the deer measure a few centimeters and hummingbirds the size of a pigeon. It is the land of the bromeliads and the rarest flowers, the home of the Andean bear or yucuma-uri and the tall toucan. A little further down, where the humidity reigns throughout the year and the rains are more frequent than in any other part of the country, the cloud forests are shown to the visitor from time to time, only when the mysterious veil of fog that the covers opens to give way to a magical and wonderful vision. This is one of the most prolific and unknown environments of nature. A kingdom of waterfalls and mysterious beings where trees grow almost hanging from the cliffs, taking advantage of the scarce fertile soil that they themselves produce and hold on to the large granite rocks that emerge from the mountains. This is the home of the colorful cock of the rocks, Peru's national bird, of flocks of tanga as multicolored, of emerald toucans and high quetzals, of tigerlows and coatis, the kingdom of giant ferns, bromeliads and orchids, whose group reaches up to 200 species here, highlighting among them the spectacular Wakanki and Winewena, whose flowers have served to name some of the most spectacular archaeological sites of the Capacnan, paths of the Inca. Finally, at the bottom of the valleys and under the thermal effect of the water courses that run through them, the forests of the mountain eyebrow provide the ideal conditions for a huge variety of crops, coca, annatto, corn, cocoa, coffee and fruit trees. This was the pantry of the Incas. who resorted to it in search of its most precious fruits, and it continues to be so for the settlers settled in their domains. A land of bamboo forests had flourished after decades to die in mass, as if following a mysterious and strange mandate, a territory where the valleys widen and the rivers calm their fury to give way to transparent channels that lick the nutrient-rich silt from the mountains. This is the prelude to the great Amazon forests. From the environmental point of view, the main value of the sanctuary resides in the role played by the dense forests of its mountains for the maintenance of the water balance of the region, capturing the rainwater and conducting it, without causing erosion, to the course of the Urubamba. If these forests disappeared, they would lose with them numerous species of flora and fauna unique and almost unknown to science, but above all, an irreversible process of environmental deterioration would begin in the area, which would bring devastating consequences for man, such as the destruction of communication routes, the disappearance of cultivation areas, floods and landslides. Walkers on the ancient Inca Trail, in an area of the cloud forest. Currently, the main threat against the sanctuary, in addition to the disproportionate growth of tourism, are forest fires. Initiated by farmers residing in the high Andean areas adjacent to this protected area, seasonal fires, aimed at renewing natural pastures, become uncontrollable and enter, aided by the wind and the fragile vegetation, downhill towards the heart of the cloud forests. Often, the fire devastates everything in its path, destroying vast areas of virgin forest, until the effect of the rains quenches the fury of the flames. In recent years, the magnitude of these fires has been such that their devastating effect even went beyond the limits of the Inca Citadel of Machu Picchu. Fortunately, the sanctuary administration, in coordination with the different sectors involved in its conservation, and with the support of international cooperation, has been working on the development of a plan for multiple use of resources, training farmers on the dangers of the annual burning of pastures and offering alternatives for non-destructive use of the area's resources to the inhabitants who depend on it. The historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu was internationally recognized by UNESCO in 1983, granting it the category of Cultural and Natural Heritage of Humanity. Only 3 areas in the Americas bear this distinction, the other are Tikal, in Guatemala and Calakmul, in Mexico. The approximately 200 structures making up this outstanding religious, ceremonial, astronomical and agricultural center are set on a steep ridge, crisscrossed by stone terraces. Following a rigorous plan, the city is divided into a lower and upper part, separating the farming from residential areas, with a large square between the two. To this day, many of Machu Picchu's mysteries remain unresolved, including the exact role it may have played in the Incas' sophisticated understanding of astronomy and domestication of wild plant species. The massive yet refined architecture of Machu Picchu blends exceptionally well with the stunning natural environment, with which it is intricately linked. Numerous subsidiary centers, an extensive road and trail system, irrigation canals and agricultural terraces bear witness to long-standing, often ongoing human use. The rugged topography making some areas difficult to access has resulted in a mosaic of used areas and diverse national habitats. The eastern slopes of the tropical Andes with its enormous gradient from high-altitude puna grasslands and polyalpous thickets to montane cloud forests all the way down towards the tropical lowland forests are known to harbor a rich biodiversity and high endemism of global significance. Despite its small size, the property contributes to conserving a very rich habitat and species diversity with remarkable endemic and relict flora and fauna. The Inca city of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is the articulating center of its surroundings, a masterpiece of art, urbanism, architecture and engineering of the Inca civilization. The working of the mountain, at the foot of the Huayna Picchu, is the exceptional result of integration with its environment, the result from a gigantic effort as if it were an extension of nature. The historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is a unique testimony of the Inca civilization and shows a well-planned distribution of functions within space, territory control, and social, productive, religious and administrative organization. The historic monuments and features in the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu are embedded within a dramatic mountain landscape of exceptional scenic and geomorphological beauty, thereby providing an outstanding example of a long-standing harmonious and aesthetically stunning relationship between human culture and nature. Covering part of the transition between the high Andes and the Amazon basin, the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu shelters a remarkably diverse array of microclimates, habitats and species of flora and fauna with a high degree of endemism. The property is part of a larger area unanimously considered of global significance for biodiversity conservation. Integrity. The historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu meets the conditions of integrity, as the natural and human-made attributes and values that sustain its outstanding universal value are mostly contained within its boundaries. The visual ensemble linking the main archaeological site of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu with its striking mountain environment remains mostly intact. It is desirable to extend the property to encompass an even broader spectrum of human-land relationships. Additional cultural sites, such as Pisque and Tambo in the Sacred Valley, and a larger part of the Urubamba watershed would contribute to strengthening the overall integrity. In particular, the value for the conservation of the many rare and endemic species of flora and fauna would benefit from the inclusion or a stronger management consideration of the adjacent lands. A considerable number of well-documented threats render the property vulnerable to losing its future integrity and will require permanent management attention. Authenticity. Upon the abandonment of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu at the beginning of the 16th century, vegetation growth and isolation ensured the conservation of the architectural attributes of the property. Although the design, materials and structures have suffered slight changes due to the decay of the fabric, the conditions of authenticity have not changed. The rediscovery in 1911, and subsequent archaeological excavations and conservation interventions have followed practices and international standards that have maintained the attributes of the property. Protection and management requirements. The state-owned historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is an integral part of Peru's National Protected Areas system and enjoys protection through several layers of a comprehensive legal framework for both cultural and natural heritage. The boundaries of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu are clearly defined, and the protected area is surrounded by a buffer zone exceeding the size of the property. The management unit of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu, UGM, was established in 1999 to lead the strategies contained in the master plans, which are the regularly updated governing documents for the management of the property. UGM was reactivated in 2011 and is comprised of representatives of the Ministries of Culture, Environment and Foreign Trade and Tourism, the regional government of Cusco, serving as the president of the executive committee, and the local municipality of Machu Picchu. A platform bringing together key governmental representatives at all levels is indispensable for the management of a property which forms part of Peru's very identity and is the country's primary domestic and international tourist destination. Notwithstanding the adequate legislative and formal management framework, there are important challenges to the interinstitutional governance and the effectiveness of management and protection of the property. The dispersed legislation would benefit from further harmonization, and despite existing efforts, the involvement of various ministries and governmental levels ranging from local to national remains a complex task, including in light of the sharing of the significant tourism revenues. Tourism itself represents a double-edged sword by providing economic benefits but also by resulting in major cultural and ecological impacts. The strongly increasing number of visitors to the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu must be matched by an adequate management regulating access, diversifying the offer and efforts to fully understand and minimize impacts. A larger appropriate and increasing share of the significant tourism revenues could be reinvested in planning and management. The planning and organization of transportation and infrastructure construction, as well as the sanitary and safety conditions for both tourists and new residents attracted by tourism, requires the creation of high quality and new long-term solutions, and is a significant ongoing concern. Since the time of inscription, consistent concerns have been expressed about ecosystem degradation through logging, firewood and commercial plant collection, poor waste management, poaching, agricultural encroachment in the absence of clear land tenure arrangements, introduced species and water pollution from both urban waste and agrochemicals in the Urubamba River, in addition from pressures derived from broader development in the region. It is important to remember that the overall risks are aggravated by the location in a high altitude with extreme topography and weather conditions and thus susceptibility to natural disasters. Continuous efforts are needed to comply with protected areas and other legislation and plans and prevent further degradation. There is also great potential for restoring degraded areas. Like us and join us at Extreme Collections for more fun and knowledge.